In the year 2009, two researchers named Rob Walker and Joshua Glenn wanted to find out whether stories had any values. If you added a story, did you add value to what you said? So, what did they do? They bought around 100 objects for around $127. So each object was priced at around $1. What they did next was asked volunteers to write a story about each of these objects. And after adding those stories, they went to eBay and put these same objects on sale. What did they find? The same objects which they had purchased for $127, they went for sale for around $3,000. So, and that was an addition of 2,700% in value. So that is the value of stories. There's another research done by Kendall Heaven, which goes to show that if you want to influence the attitudes, behaviors, and beliefs of people, stories are much more significant. This research analyzed over 1,000 studies to come to this conclusion. You would have heard about the value of storytelling, how people are asking CEOs, senior leaders, managers to be able to tell stories. And you might be wondering, why do I have to be a grandma? You don't have to be a grandma, but you have to be a leader. What does a leader do? A leader influences. And the best way to influence people is to tell stories. And do you need to tell fictional stories? Do you need to weave fairy tales? No. You will tell stories based on facts, figures, experiences, even your personal experiences, because stories are what stick to people's mind. People forget data, people forget targets, but people remember stories. Think of the last strategy meet you attended. Do you remember the targets that have to be achieved? Do you remember the strategy that has to be done? Do you remember the planning? Most likely you'll need to refer to notes. And here's the difference. If there was a story related with it, you would remember that story and the point that that story drove home. So in this video, I'm going to share with you a simple framework which you can use anywhere in your speeches, when you make presentations, when you go and attend a steering committee meeting, when you try to convince clients, how you can use a story by using that simple framework. I'm going to share that simple framework with you, which will make storytelling very, very easy for you. So watch this video till the end. And if you like it, subscribe to the channel so that you keep getting videos from me. Let us talk about how we remember stories. Let us talk about those stories which most of us know and we remember. For example, the Mahabharata. We have heard about the stories of Guru Dronacharya taking his disciples to shoot an arrow into the bird's eye, and that still remains with us. We remember the stories of the Pandavas going for Vanvas and then Agyatwas and then coming back, and then the Kauravas refusing them any share in the kingdom, and then how the battle started even after Lord Krishna tried to convince the Kauravas to give the right to Pandavas. So all of that we remember. Why do we remember? Because the story was so powerful, because it was told so well, because there were elements in it which made it memorable. And I'll share with you how you can make your story too quite memorable. But how's storytelling done in the corporate world? Do you remember one of the best examples of storytelling in the corporate world is the unveiling of iPhone by Steve Jobs. He unveiled it in the year 2007, but people still remember that speech. People still talk about it as an iconic speech. People still remember what he said. Why is it so memorable? Because he used the elements of storytelling. When he started, he said that I have been waiting for this moment for 2.5 years. He is building anticipation. Then he uses storytelling. In the year 1984, we launched the Macintosh, and that changed the computer industry. Then we launched the iPod, and that changed the music industry. And today we are going to launch this. So what he's doing is telling the story of Apple, what Apple has done in the past, and therefore people can anticipate and expect what he's going to reveal today. storytelling technique can be very, very powerful. By using this technique, what he's doing is he's creating anticipation in his audience, and his end goal is that people should become fans of this product, that they should buy this product. And you know what happened after that? People stood in queues before it was launched. Outside the stores, people stood in queues to buy the iPhone. So here is how storytelling can influence the behavior of people. Let me share with you the simple and powerful framework of storytelling. And this I'm borrowing from Philip Hum's book, Story Selling. And I'm giving the link in the description. You can go and buy the book. It is a highly readable book and so powerful. And Philip Hum even teaches you how to build your own story, man. He says there are 4 elements to a good story. It is the context, the challenge, the response, and the result. And I call it 2C, 2R. 2C is for context and challenge. And the next, response and the result, 2R. So what is the context? For example, when I started this video, I told you in the year 2009, 2 researchers. So that is the context. Whenever you want to tell a story, you can start like this. And where can you find the context? From where will you find these stories? You can find it, number 1, from your own experiences. Whatever you have learned through your experiences, if you want to drive it home, you can use your own experiences. Next, you can use success stories from your own company, from the industry, or some other stories from the industry. Your own success stories, your company's success stories are the second source. So the number 1 source is your personal experience. Number 2 source is success stories from your own organization, just like Steve Jobs started sharing success stories of Apple. And then the third is that you can share case studies from the industry. So all of you, you've been through MBAs, you've done courses where you've seen case studies being used. What are case studies? Case studies are stories with a lot of data and examples and the entire story also. And see how involved people become when they start discussing case studies. And there are the questions and the learning. Therefore, the crucial part of the story is it does not end at the story only. So the first is the context, but remember that in the end, the learning has to come. Remember, whenever we were told stories when we were children, we were told the moral of the story. So whenever you are sharing a story, there has to be a purpose, a reason behind it. What is the meaning you want to drive by sharing that story? That needs to be clear in your mind. So number 1, context. Number 2, challenge. In every story, there will be a challenge. Whenever you are sharing a story, how do you make it interesting? So when the Pandavas went for Vanvas and they have spent years and years in Vanvas and then they have lived a year of Agyatwas, when they come back, you expect that they will get their kingdom back or at least their share of it. But here's the suspense element. They don't get it. So that I am sharing from the Mahabharata, but I'll also share with you an example of how you can do it in corporate world. So all the case studies that you would have studied in your management school, they would have had some challenge, some difficulty, which the protagonist is going through. The third element of a story is response. So when faced with a challenge, what did the protagonist do? What did the leader do? So for example, in the Mahabharata, when the Pandavas are refused any share in the kingdom, Lord Krishna goes and speaks to their Duryodhan. However, they refuse. So that is the response. And then finally, the result is that the battle of Kurukshetra takes place. So that is the result. Response, result. Number 1, context. Number 2, challenge. Number 3, response. And number 4, the result. So all of these are the 4 elements in a story. And what is the moral? What is the learning? So in Mahabharata, for example, we learn that we need to do our karma and we need to fight for what is right. Similarly, when Steve Jobs was sharing his story about what Apple has done in the past. He was building the anticipation of something that they are going to reveal. And he says that we are going to reveal a product, a telephone, which is 5 years ahead of any phone on the planet today. So that is the core message that he's trying to give, that this phone, this technology that we are sharing right now is 5 years ahead of any phone on the planet today. That is the core message. Whenever you're sharing a story, be very clear about the core message and use this framework of 2C2R, and you are ready to share your story in a very structured manner. Now, how to make your story interesting, how to make it punchy that people sit on the edges of their seat and remain engaged to what you're telling them. Here are 3 things that you can do. Again, borrowing from Philip Hump. Number 1, there has to be an element of surprise. I'm sharing with you a video from Sundar Pichai, a very short video only of a few seconds, and see how he uses the storytelling technique and how he makes this simple story about himself, his own life, and how he loved technology.
Let me tell you a little bit about my personal journey to Silicon Valley from India 22 years ago. Growing up in India, like many of you, I got my first telephone when I was 12. In my case, it turned out to be a rotary phone, so it wasn't that great for selfies, but I still loved to call my friends, play with it, and sometimes take it apart. That telephone cemented my fascination with technology.
So when Sundar Pichai talks about himself and his love for technology, he says that he got a telephone, like most of the audience, when he was 12 years of age. What is the element of surprise? He says that it was not a mobile phone, it was a rotary phone. So this is the element of surprise. So the first way in which you can make your stories interesting is add an element of surprise. What is the second element? The second element is add emotions so that the audience feels connected to you, rouse some emotions in them, and those emotions should be felt. Feel more connected to your story, to your message. So here, when Sundar Pichai is sharing this, what is the emotion that is arousing in the audience? The emotion of curiosity, the emotion of amusement. And the third element to make your story very interesting is use of visuals. So here Sundar Pichai uses the visual of a rotary phone and the audience laughs. When you look at good stories, you will see how they describe it so well that the audience is bound. They're listening, their emotions are there, they can visualize what is happening. And it has been done beautifully because I've been talking about the Mahabharata. I would love to share that piece from Ramdhari Singh Dinkar's poem, where Lord Krishna goes and speaks to Duryodhan, and how even in the poem, Ramdhari Singh uses the visuals, how he creates the scene of how Krishna has gone speaking to Duryodhan, and he makes it so powerful through the visual images that he draws. So the scene is where Lord Krishna has gone to speak to Duryodhan to give justice to the Pandavas, to give them their right. But Duryodhana, in his own ego, he wants to imprison the Lord. He asks his people to bring chains and tie him. And then Lord Krishna shows him. This is how the poet Ramdhari Singh Dinkar describes it, how Lord Krishna has taken the infinite form and asked Duryodhan to look at him. भूलोक अतल पाताल देख, गत और अनागत काल देख, यह देख जगत का आदि सृजन, यह देख महाभारत का रन, अंबर में कुंतल जाल देख, पद के नीचे पाताल देख, मुट्ठी में तीनों काल देख, मेरा स्वरूप विकराल देख, बांधने मुझे तू आया है, जंजीर बड़ी क्या लाया है. Imagine, like when you listen to this poem, you can visualize everything and you can feel the emotions, you can feel the goosebumps. So this is the extreme power storytelling, and this poem, which we had read when we were in school, we still remember it. One of the most powerful poems that is recited again and again, the way it uses visuals and the way it uses emotions. Remember the techniques. You're not going to write an epic. When you use stories in your speeches, keep it short, keep it between 1 to 2 minutes, not longer than that. Best is within 1.5 minutes, not longer than 90 seconds. But remember the structure 2C2R, and remember how you can make it very powerful, punchy, and interesting, engaging. That is through creating suspense, using emotions and visuals. Be a master storyteller.